Here we are for our first official episode of Talkin with Doyle. We are an official podcast now with State Representative Doyle Heffley. We're talking with Doyle. Doyle, who else are we talking with?
So we are in business now. We have an official name, Talking with Doyle. And I'd like to introduce everybody to Hunter Kipe. Hunter is a Carbon County native, and she is working here for us in Harrisburg. She's doing a phenomenal job. Hunter, if you'd like to say a little bit about yourself?
Yes, absolutely. I'm so excited to be on this podcast and speaking with you and Chuck today. I am born and raised Carbon County girl. Grew up in Summit Hill, so I understand the ins and the outs of Carbon County, and I look forward to bringing what I've learned and grew up with in Carbon County back to this Commonwealth's capital.
Growing up in the anthracite coal belt in Carbon County. Summit Hill,
right.
I think anthracite coal was actually discovered in Summit Hill, and it's where the Switchback Railroad started years ago. So if anybody's out there, you'd love to come to Carbon County and Jim Thorpe and experience the heritage that we have there, and also make a stop in Summit Hill and ride the Switchback Railroad. It was at one point one of the biggest tourist attractions on the East Coast.
Didn't they consider the Switchback a roller coaster too at one
yes,
point in time?
Yes, after it was a gravity railroad. They used to bring coal from the mines down to the canal boats and would load it down and take it down to Lehigh Canal. And after they shut down, the rail came in, they actually took that rail, and it was the first roller coaster. So you could go up and you would ride on it, and it would just go down the hill. It was amazing. It's a really cool history.
Yeah, and then taking a mock chunk.
Yep, mock chunk. A mock chunk, which is an Indian word, which means sleeping bear. Mm-hmm. And now the town was renamed to Jim Thorpe, but still people call it mock chunk. And if you live there, they still might call you a chunker.
Yeah.
So now, Hunter, you graduated from Panther Valley.
I did in 2016.
Yeah, a proud graduate of Panther Valley High School. And then where did you go on to continue your education?
So I went to Lebanon Valley College. I double majored in English and political science, and I specialized in law as well as journalism and communications. So I graduated during COVID times. I graduated virtually in 2020, but I had a full-time internship here in Harrisburg, and I just continued that pace.
Well, that's wonderful. Well, we are very happy to have you on board and helping us out with our podcast today.
One thing that we want to do is preserve these wonderful places that we all come from in rural Pennsylvania and all across the state. And one thing we don't want to have is people coming in, destroying things, messing things up, and making things worse like they are in some of the cities of the first class.
Yeah.
And how do we get around this? What do you have to say about this?
So clearly what they're trying to do is they're trying to turn Pennsylvania, the Commonwealth, into a sanctuary city. We're not a sanctuary city. We're not a sanctuary state. We want to make sure that Pennsylvania continues to be a safe haven, not for criminals, which is what Doyle is going to get into, but we want Pennsylvania to be a safe haven for law-abiding citizens, the people who actually genuinely consider Pennsylvania home and they cherish the land and their community that they're a part of. But instead, they're introducing legislation that would ruin that safe haven for the Pennsylvanians who love the land.
Yeah, but what it is, House Bill 1786, which is a bill that will probably be, it ran out of Judiciary Committee and will be taken up on the floor. And basically, the intent of it and what it actually does are two different things. And what the bill would actually do is it would block extradition. So if you have a felon who comes to the state of Pennsylvania or somebody that's committed crimes and is wanted in another state, it would block the governor from extraditing them. Now, we've seen what happened in what deemed sanctuary cities in Philadelphia and New York, where we had become such an issue with bringing in too many illegal immigrants. Look, I support legal immigration. We're all immigrants here. You want to come to this country, come here legally, and we, God knows, we need more people that want to work in the trades and everything. So we welcome everybody from anywhere, but make sure it's legal. So when we create sanctuary cities in Philadelphia, and you see what has happened there because of that, and
crime,
now,
drug use,
and now they want to take that same model and block extradition. So essentially creating a sanctuary for people that are criminals in other states. Well, maybe it's somebody who's a fraudster. Maybe it's somebody who bilks people out of their life savings and preys on senior citizens. You come to Pennsylvania, if you're wanted in Michigan, you come to Pennsylvania, oh, we can't extradite you because of this law. It's a terrible policy. Why would we not want to extradite people that are here that committed crimes in other states? Just what we need. looking at the schedule ahead and some of the proposals that were out there voting on this week, and just let me reference that this has been the most least productive session pretty much in the state history. I mean, the Democrats in the state house really have not accomplished anything. They've voted a lot of bills just to say that they voted bills that knowing they're not going to get done in the Senate. For example, this week we voted on a House Bill 842 from Representative Kenyatta from Philadelphia. And basically what that bill does is right now in statute, a lot of municipalities, nonprofits apply for state grants. They get awarded those state grants, and then they have to use those state dollars for the purpose that they were awarded the grant for. And if there's any problems with that, there's actually provision in the law that the department must go and get those dollars back, right? So if they were misused, because these are competitive state dollars, his provision would actually make it from a must to a may. So now we would give the administration the ability to decide, well, this money was fraudulently used, but we're not going to go after that organization. But this one over here, we're going to go after. So, I mean, right now the provisional law is equal for everybody. That's one of it should be equal for everybody under the Constitution to say that if you apply for state grants and you get and you're awarded these dollars, you must use them for the purpose that was intended for, or you have to give those dollars back. And the administration then follows up on that. The governors through the DCD and the governor's office. His bill would allow them to say, well, we're not going to prosecute this one. That's Joe Biden corruption, you know. That's something that the bill did pass with. I don't think we had a single Republican vote on it, but House Bill 842. I'm hoping that it doesn't pass the Senate, but it's a provision that really, instead of applying the law equally, is going to cut out and make it a political decision instead of a real decision on how we should administer these grants.
Seems like a common sense idea, but implemented the wrong way.
Yeah, we already have the program that says you must, and he just voted to make may, which means that you're given all the discretion to DCED or the Attorney General's office to decide whether or not they want to go after that organization. It's going to lead to more corruption.
So where did he come up with this idea? This seems very one-sided. How can you pick and choose where this is going to go?
Yeah, it really is, and it would be interesting. I don't know exactly where he came up with the bill. We caucused it, and we voted on the floor yesterday on third consideration. I was a no on the bill just for that exact reason. I mean, what it does is this opens the floodgates to corruption in the grant processes, and we need these grants go to small water and sewer programs. Grants go to public safety. Grants go to housing assistance. We have a homeless crisis. Grants go to programs that provide addiction treatments. We want to make sure that those dollars are being used properly. Why we would then allow the administration to say, well, we might, if you use them improperly, we might go to seek those dollars back. So it's I really don't understand the need for it, but I guess you'd have to ask my Democratic colleagues why they would vote for something like that.
You said you were opening up the floodgates to corruption. Something else that really is going to open up some floodgates is if we let a bunch of people out of prison.
Yep.
And that seems like a bad idea from Jump Street. What's going on here?
Yeah, I mean, there's just more and more. There's been this push to end what deemed as mass incarceration. Well, I think there are some people in society that need to be incarcerated, right? People that commit murder, people that sell drugs on our streets. And
people with life sentences.
People with life sentences, yes. I mean, look, I'm all for DNA testing, make sure we got the right guy. I'm all for that. Do things happen in the criminal justice system that, maybe an innocent person or somebody that's guilty gets away with it? Obviously, we've all seen the OJ case. But, I mean, I think that, with DNA technology and everything else, we need to pursue every angle and make sure that we got the right person. But at the same time, once you've been convicted of some heinous crimes, you should be locked up. And people that are selling drugs in our streets, I mean, this week they have a gun bill coming up, right? They're going to tell law-abiding citizens that you have to keep your gun in your house locked up, which kind of defeats the purpose. A lot of people use I think maybe the Democrats in the House don't know, but a lot of areas in the state don't have local police departments. And so a lot of people have guns in their house for personal protection, or maybe they go hunting with them. But to say to somebody that the government's going to control what you do in your own house, with locking up your firearms, I mean, where does it end? I mean, what if you leave your window open at night because it's hot outside? Does that mean should you be cited for that or fined for that? It's just a terrible proposal, and what the Democrats, what the ultimate push for the progressives is, they want to ban private gun ownership, right? They're coming after your guns. This is just one more step.
All this is going on. At the same time, we really have a problem going on. Kensington is an example, but it's really all over our state. We've got drugs. We've got zombified people.
Yeah.
And we really should be addressing this, and it seems like we're sitting around spinning our wheels and not getting a whole lot done.
Yeah, this week we actually voted some good bills out of the Human Service Committee, which I chair for the state House Republican Caucus, and we worked bipartisanly, and we passed some bills, and we had to put some amendments on them, but basically making sure that DDAP, we're going to make sure that they are educating people to the dangers of xylazine. And I don't know if you know familiar with what xylazine is, but we're seeing more and more of it coming up in throughout the rest of the state, but it really came out of Kensington. Basically, it's a horse tranquilizer that's mixed with fentanyl. And what it does is it slows down the body's metabolism to then create a longer high. So people that are addicts want that longer high. So this horse tranquilizer actually slows down the metabolism, so they can ride that high even longer. But it pretty much turns people into zombies. You see it. I mean, it's really. I mean, it's like The Walking Dead. It's awful. And this drug actually, one of the side effects is it actually rots human flesh. It's not in any way intended for human use. It's a horse tranquilizer, and was found in 90% of the fentanyl coming out of Philadelphia. The xylazine so we actually did a program requiring DDAP to educate people on the dangers of xylazine, and so that was a good thing. But my point is, we have this crisis with fentanyl now with xylazine, and also xylazine blocks Narcan, so it blocks the overdose reversal, and that's why we're seeing so many overdoses. We lost over 5,400 people to overdoses in the state of Pennsylvania, and yet we really have, the House Democrats have not run any bills to really address it until this time. We've got a couple of bills coming out of the Human Service Committee, but yet they continue to run. It's like a political game. They continue to run bills on gun control. That we lost 1,500 people to gun violence, and that's tragic. That's awful.
But this is 3 times that.
Yeah, but and we lost 964 people to suicides, and the rest, 32% of those were homicides, and most of those are coming out of a city of the first class, which is Philadelphia. So why we would let Philadelphia legislators who can't control gun violence in their own city then dictate to the rest of the Commonwealth how law-abiding gun owners have to conduct themselves in their own home is absurd.
And this problem is not a Philadelphia-only problem. We see it here in Harrisburg. When I drive home, I drive past folks that look like they're stumbling around zombies. Mm-hmm. It is one of those things that it is reaching out. It is insidious. It is just going everywhere in the Commonwealth. And as you noted, we can't allow the bad laws that have allowed this to happen in Philadelphia to keep spreading out into the rest of the Commonwealth. How do we put a stop to it? How do we put a stop to it in our local communities? What's the best way to go?
Because it also doesn't stop in the cities. I mean, Carbon County, a rural area in Pennsylvania, and gun laws and the drug issues, they're big, hot topic problems in Carbon County that we are constantly facing, that are hot button issues that we're constantly seeing on the streets, and we're seeing it, and they're issues that families and children, they're witnesses of. And these are big issues that Carbon County is facing.
Yeah. Families especially.
A lot of the drugs coming into Carbon and throughout the state now are coming out of the Kensington area. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think, how do we stop it? Well, the fact of letting an open-air drug market in Philadelphia is causing this. So people will drive from Carbon County, from Monroe County, from all the different counties to Philadelphia. They buy the drugs. They're buying fentanyl, which we lost 110,000 people nationally to overdoses. 90% of those overdoses, or 85% approximately, were fentanyl related. So that's more than double the people we lost in the Vietnam War, right? And yet we have prosecutors in Philadelphia who aren't prosecuting. They're tying the hands of the law enforcement. But then that is then spreading out to the whole Commonwealth. And now we have the legislators from that area, not all of them, but some that are trying to mimic this statewide. We don't need a Kensington in every county. We don't need one Kensington, what's going on there right now, with that open air drug market in the state of Pennsylvania, let alone in every county spread across this Commonwealth. And these policies that we talked about, like the clawback for programs, that, they're now allowing fraud and abuse in the grant program. They want to tell law-abiding citizens that they're going to have to lock up their guns. And at the same time, we have this huge crisis with xylazine and fentanyl, and they don't want to address it.